Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin at TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble, and took a look at your weather, and think things are improving, but it's gonna be windy, I guess is the short answer, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much typical. Like we were just talking about before we started recording, is early spring, late winter, you get these 3-4 days where things get warmer, but that almost always means that there's a wind that comes with it, which is never a slight wind, except for this past Saturday. It's never usually a slight wind. It's like 15 to 25 mile per hour gusts. But we're kind of at the start of the season, really for the people that are looking at trout fishing. When stuff starts to progressively get better, we are right at the front end of it. So it's exciting. People have been getting setups and kind of prepared, I guess would be the best term, to see what this year has for trout fishing. So I'm excited,
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, the important thing is, I guess you start with the fact that the lows stay out of the 20s, which helps a lot. And then your highs are starting to get into the 60s and the 50s. So as you mentioned, trout fishing will start turning on. The muskie are still happy. And we'll start to see the smallies start to kind of get revved into action here in a bit.
Yep. Yeah. What's crazy is, like, this time of the year, everything boils so much around temperature. Like last week, I had said it 100 times to people that anytime you get like the 3 to 4 days of higher than average temps, 55 to 60 degrees, you can expect the third and fourth day to just be better, better fishing. Maybe not June, but better than average. And like, for example, what I'm saying everything is so temp driven is we had from last week, it was just basically 3 days where temps went up near the 50s. And if you look at the water temps on the James, they went from like the beginning of the week was 41 degrees. And then by the end of the week, we had hit nearly 45. So like a 5-degree temperature variation, all from really 3 days of warmth. It wasn't even, our nights weren't even that warm. They were just a little bit warmer. And then we had that little cold spell that came, and in one day, and like that's what blows my mind is one day of that winter storm, and it went straight back down to 41. So we lost those 4 degrees. But I talked to a couple people that went out, and it's not phenomenal smallmouth fishing, but I went out, I caught fish, and like I said, it wasn't it wasn't what I would call world class fishing for sure. But it was a good caliber fish. And then the guys I know that went trout fishing, they all did pretty well. So just things to keep in mind. You got to be opportunistic, or you just go when you can go. And it's always fun when we can line everything up perfectly. And I told many people if they could get out Friday or Saturday, they would have a pretty good day. And the people that I know that did that did pretty well. So that made me feel like I was a part of it.
That's a good thing you own a fly shop.
Yeah.
So, from a tactics perspective, even though it's warming up a little bit, low and slow is still going to be probably the call of the day. But the good news is maybe fish are a little bit more eagle, and this probably goes for smallmouth and for trout, maybe to chase something a little bit more if you wanted to fish streamers a little bit.
Yeah, and, I think we've talked in the past about streamer fishing. A lot of people have this perception that it's just super fast all the time, cast to the bank and rip it back. And that's not typically how it's done. Even, looking at it from guys that are throwing gear, people have heard me say this before, is casting to the bank, letting something drop to the bottom, and you'll see like 1 or 2 rod tip twitches, and then reel a little bit. Like you're moving your bait or your fly like very small amounts because you're just trying to find that fish that's hungry and is willing to eat, or you're trying to drive that reaction, just something bumps right off his nose. For smallmouth, like where I've typically found them, and take this for what it is, I'm not like some 60 or 70-year-old guy telling you, but this time of the year you're looking for like flats that are going to warm up, that are closer to deep water. So it's basically a place where a fish can go to is deep water, be safe, but is close to food, essentially, or warmth is associated with the food, because as soon as the sun goes out and heats up some of the rocks, then you might have a little bit of activity from crayfish, or you might have a little bit of activity of, if it's small bait fish or something like that. Funny enough, we even out on the James the other day, you're seeing mayflies hatch and that sort of stuff, which just signs of life, really, when it's cold. And then, same thing with trout streams, just covering ground. And if you're doing like a dry dropper, make sure that your nymph is down on the bottom, essentially, because it's still cold. There's still snow on the mountains, at least here. So, yeah, still cold, but it's getting better every day.
Yeah, well, there you go. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can drop them in the comments on our social media post. You can DM us on social media or email them to us. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag. And we were in a drawing for some cool stuff from the shop at the end of the season. And before I let you go, Ethan, why don't you let folks know shop location hours and all that kind of good stuff? Yeah.
So our shop is located in downtown Lynchburg. We're on Main Street. We've got classes, all sorts of stuff. If you're interested in seeing more about the classes that we do or products that we have in the shop, you can find us at TaleTellersVA.com. Or if you just want to see, kind of what we're about, you can go to Facebook or Instagram or, YouTube, that sort of stuff. We've got it all, pretty much what most fly shops nowadays have. We do the same. So, except for, Mr. Marvin Cash.
Fair.
The one and only Marvin Cash.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, it's starting to warm up, and, if you owe it to yourself to maybe try to get out there and catch a few. And if you think it's a little too cold, just crank out a couple dozen flies at the vise and get ready for the spring. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.